Welcome back to Eye on Foxborough. I'm Karen Guregian, and today I am pleased to welcome NFL Network analyst Charles Davis, who is going to be wall to wall with the NFL Network's draft coverage. How you doing, Charles?
I'm doing great, Karen. It's good to see you again. Good to talk with you.
I see your master's hat, and was that your prep for your upcoming draft work or what?
It was my relief trip in the middle of the draft prep. I hope that I'm going to be prepped well enough when we go into the ring for real on Thursday night in Detroit, a little more than a week from now. But I had a little bit of a short interlude where I was fortunate enough a very good friend invited me to go and take in a practice day. So how lucky was I?
There's nothing like it. As I told you before we got on, I've covered at least a half dozen masters, and every time I go, it's special. It's beyond even the pictures you see on TV. That's probably the best way to explain it.
It really is, and as we talked about during that interlude before we came on here, it's one of the few things that I can truly say without hyperbole, without exaggeration, that no matter how much people hyped it up to me before I ever went, they didn't exceed it. Like, how many times have you heard this book is the greatest book I've ever read? This movie's the greatest movie I've ever seen, and you read it and you saw it and it was good,
Yeah, not quite.
right? But sometimes that's a product of how much it's been hyped in advance. Like if you just came to it on your own, you might feel the same way. In this case, let's face it, I didn't get to go for the first time. Here I am pushing 60 until last year. So I've gone 2 years in a row. Probably the last time I'll get to go. No one gets this lucky, right? But I'd heard about it my whole life. And it was everything people had said and probably then some. So there you go.
All right. Well, let's move on to draft talk. We're kind of in the fun time, if you want to call it the fun time, where there's all kinds of rumors swirling around, and we're trying to make sense. What's true? What isn't? Uh, which teams are moving up? Charles, what have you heard? Especially
You know,
around the top.
yeah. Well, Karen, I think we probably heard a lot of the same things. I like how you put it. You call it the fun time. When people
Mhm.
are tired and it's 2 o'clock in the morning or 1 o'clock, and you're having conversations about the draft with people and what have you, and they're just mean and they're like everyone's lying to each other. This is all going on, blah blah blah. Look, you just look at it off the top. You look at Monty Fort with 2 picks in the first round with the Cardinals, but sitting at 4. And if the fourth quarterback is the deal, he's the first phone call, right? Although I think anyone who really wants a certain guy is going to start ringing the phone at 2 with Adam Peters, the new GM with Washington, or 3 with Eliot Wolf, the decision maker with New England. But 4 kind of seems to be the sweet spot. Joe Ortiz with the Chargers, their new GM is at 5. He's begging people to call him. Please, God, call me. He's cap strapped. He'd love to be able to get out of 5 and pick up some more picks and help his team out, because that roster is not the roster that everyone talked about with the Chargers. Like, take over the Chargers. That's the job to take. Take a good look at that roster. They got some work to do on that bad boy. We know Minnesota made their move to get a second pick in the first round. It doesn't seem like there's any way possible they won't try and make a big move up to try and get a quarterback. We know that the Las Vegas Raiders under new management with Tom Telesco, they've made zero bones about trying to move up and get a quarterback, or even move down and get a quarterback. They want to come out of this with a quarterback in the first round. Can they pull it off? Do they have the capital? All that comes into play. And then, of course, now the last thing I'll say, Karen, is there are more than 32 people that are being evaluated for being first round picks in this first round. It's like that every year, but I feel like the pool is even deeper than normal. So what may turn out to be a draft night surprise really might not be a surprise. Like, that person's been evaluated, teams have talked about it. So when that surprise kicks in, I'm going to sit there and say to myself, was that really a surprise, or is it just a deeper pool than 32? And for some people, that guy might be 45 or 50. For other teams, he might have been right in the 30s or the 20s. That's where I think we are with the number of players for this first round.
So the Patriots have the number 3 pick.
Yeah.
They're in very desperate need for a quarterback, but they have other needs as well. Right now, all we're hearing is JJ McCarthy, and he's sort of come out of the blue. Can you see a reason where it might behoove the Patriots to put out that information? And I'll preface this by saying, I had somebody tell me the year the Chiefs moved up for Pat Mahomes, they put it out, or they had it leaked, that they were going for a linebacker.
Yeah.
Just to kind of get people, because they had to jump up the board and jump over Houston that was also wanting a quarterback. So is there a purpose to deception at all in when it comes to if you're sitting at number 3?
Yeah, I think that people believe that there is, for sure. And we've had enough of those stories over time where people believe it has aided a team or aided someone in going. When Mike Shanahan was the coach in Denver, remember when they drafted Jay Cutler? I think he was like 11th overall or what have you. And that was a mild surprise to people. And Jay Cutler afterwards said, I never worked out with him. I never interviewed with him. I never talked to him. They knew what they wanted. And they just wanted to make sure no one else knew. So that's kind of where we are with all of this. Yeah, there's definitely that if you're New England, but you're also wanting to evaluate just how strongly people want to come up, because in recent management, all we ever talked about was whenever pick the Patriots have, be ready for a move down, be ready for this, be ready for a trade.
That was automatic, Charles.
That was a lock, right? You covered them all those years. You didn't even think about, okay, what number they had? Yeah, they're not sticking there. So that's kind of that. There's a little bit of sense, a little tingle for me that this is a brand new era, that things are different. Sure, they're going to put out different things. I would be stunned, Karen, if they don't stick and pick one of the quarterbacks at 3. I would just be surprised. They've got to start now. If they like JJ McCarthy and maybe they're putting it out there for people to come up, what are you going to offer me? I get it. But JJ McCarthy, central casting for the New England Patriots, that's another Michigan quarterback that was really underrated. Now, he's going to go way higher than Tom Brady went. We know that. Doesn't mean he's a better player than Tom coming out. It's just different circumstances, different times where we are. But JJ McCarthy may be the beneficiary, and they may like the fact of his college experience over, let's say, a Drake May. North Carolina's a 2-year starter, redshirt sophomore, that sort of a deal. Who knows? We're all just playing a speculative game, but it makes sense that JJ McCarthy, if he does get picked ahead of Drake May or Jaden Daniels at 3, it makes sense given New England's history.
Okay, let me have you put your GM hat on. Okay,
Oh, well,
and you're the
nice.
you're the Patriots
That's real
GM.
nice. Can I sign my contract first? Can I do that?
Yeah, Eliot hasn't signed one.
Yeah.
Funny.
Can I
You
get
should ask about
GM
that.
money?
You know it. It's almost like he's being tested right now. My gosh.
Yeah, I have a feeling he's going to pass the test just fine. Those bloodlines, they rarely lie.
This is true. I think the expectation, Caleb Williams going first.
Yeah.
Most mocks or most people believe the Commanders will take Jaden Daniels number 2. Now, if you have the choice between Drake May and JJ,
Yeah, McCarthy.
who do you take? What's that?
Yeah, I'm a big Drake May guy. I mean, not that I'm not a JJ McCarthy fan. I do think that JJ McCarthy's rise when people are now, because Karen, you can feel it, right? The pushback against JJ McCarthy has really gotten strong, hasn't it? People are really taking bites out of him and the whole deal. And somewhere Drake May's like, woo, you guys are off of me and on to him. Because Drake May took the beating for most of this.
He certainly did. Yep.
Right? Now it's starting to happen with JJ McCarthy because people have that arched eyebrow about the so-called rise. And what I keep reminding people is, as much as you're not a Zach Wilson fan now, he went number 2 overall for a reason. And there was a rise his last year at BYU. Joe Burrow, after his junior year at LSU, was probably a day 3 guy, round 4. Maybe round 3 if someone really liked it. But did anyone see him as the number 1 pick in the draft? They did not. He rose. So let these guys play out and let the rises happen. And now they've dug in on J.J. McCarthy. The rise is real. And you can find the reasons why. But I love Drake May. I love his character. I love the arm. I love the mobility that he has. I love that he fought through last year with an offensive line that struggled, receivers that weren't as great as they were the year before. He comes from, talk about bloodlines. Go check that family history about people playing on the big stage and the whole deal. His dad was the quarterback in North Carolina about the time I was in school at Tennessee. So I knew about Mark May. Mark May was supposed to be a Major League Baseball pitcher, blew his arm out, what have you. Okay. But look at that family. I mean, one kid wins the NCAA basketball championship. Another one does this, none does that. They've kind of got it. So he's come up tested within his own family. And I think that he's been tested a little bit at North Carolina that he doesn't get credit for. If you want to dig him for only having 2 years, I get that. Because those quarterbacks have a lot of starts and a lot of snaps in college. They tend to translate a little bit easier. But when I look at Drake May, I see Justin Herbert in a lot of ways. The way he throws the football, the build, the ability to run the football. People forgotten Justin Herbert's biggest day running the ball was the Rose Bowl, his last game at Oregon against Wisconsin. And he still can do it. I'm a big Drake May fan. Not that I wouldn't be happy with J.J. McCarthy, but I would like Drake May.
Well, to me, anyway, I think it comes down, I think Drake May is, given his traits and given the potential with his traits, he's like a swing for the fence guy. And J.J. McCarthy is more the safer choice, perhaps.
Yeah.
If you're the Patriots, given what's happened over the course of the last 4 years, given the fact you don't have a quarterback, given the fact you're still suffering post Tom Brady syndrome, do you swing for the fence or do you go for the safe guy?
When I look at their quarterback roster, help me out here, Karen, and make sure I'm on track, okay? Bailey Zappi's on the roster, correct?
Correct.
Jacoby
Brissett
roster.
Yep.
That allows me to take Drake May and not push him on the field right away. Because this is a little bit of a rebuild anyway. Let's not kid ourselves, okay? Listen, Gerard Mayo's a Vol. I'm a Tennessee Vol. I want Gerard Mayo to have as much success as possible out there. Plus, he's a terrific guy.
Yep.
But who are we kidding, right? Let's not fool ourselves. They're drafted number 3 overall for a reason. This isn't because of a past trade. This was earned.
Not like Chicago at number 1. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Chicago made a trade with Carolina. This was earned by lack of success on the field. And you look at the roster and it's not dramatically reshaped yet. So they've got some work to do. But if you could play Jacoby Brissett as your starter and Drake May work his way in, that's why I would feel good about him going to New England. I don't have to play him right away. And look, you and I both know everyone says the same thing with a rookie quarterback. We're going to take our time. We're going to redshirt him. We're going to give him time. And then somebody who writes the checks at the very least comes down to coach's office. Yo, I'm going to see the first rounder.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah.
And
we have some empty seats. We have some empty seats. We need to bring people to the to the stadium.
Empty seats. Have you seen the article Karen wrote recently about how bad we are? Have you seen all this? We need something to pump the people up. And by the way, coach, we're 1-5. What do we got to lose? Well, coaches are like, well, we might lose a young quarterback if we don't do this the right way. But guess what? If someone who writes the checks wants that, you're going to find a way to get it done if you like keeping your job. That's just one way. But it's almost irresistible when you have those people, you draft them in the first round. It's like I talk about the holidays. When you get a new gift, you don't take it out of the box and just let it sit there. You want to play with it right away. That's how it works.
Yeah. Well, I know you cover the NFL, you do games weekly. The Patriots have a new offensive coaching staff, led by Alex Van Pelt, who's now the offensive coordinator. How do you see the offense evolving under him? And is there a quarterback fit that fits his style best? Is that Drake May, or is that JJ McCarthy, or somebody else?
All of them fit because Alex Van Pelt is a coach that coaches the player that he has, not tries to turn the player that he has into something. Oh, this is an Alex Van Pelt quarterback. I actually coached against Alex when he was in college at Pitt. I was at Pacific coaching the secondary. They lit us up. Tells you what a good coach I was, right? So, when you watch Alex through his career, he's been with multiple quarterbacks, multiple types. I don't worry about that part at all. What I worry about is the talent, because that quarterback needs people around him who can make plays, who can do things. Can they fashion together an offensive line to let him get comfortable? Can they fashion together enough of a run game that will allow him not to have to throw it 35, 40 times per ball game? All those things will come into play. I said on air in games that we did last year when I was fortunate enough to work for CBS and work with Ian Eagle and Evan Washburn, and we're doing Patriots games. I think I said it for the last 2 years. In fact, I'm pretty sure that's right. The Patriots scare no one on offense. No one. That's not the way to work. You can't live in the NFL that way unless your defense is the Ravens' dominant defense from, what was it, 2002 or whatever that was, in 2000. It's that type of a deal. You got to have people who can scare people. They just don't have those types of players. Now, they have players that they drafted hoping to do it, but they haven't done it so far. Tyquan Thornton's speed has not translated into people changing coverages on defense. See where I'm going? That's a thing that you have to have. People not only just potentially can do it, but actually do it and make you change what you do on that side of the ball. New England's got to work towards that.
Well, they have new people involved in the draft process. They haven't drafted well recently. A lot of the blame for that has gone on Bill Belichick, but that's another story.
He's in charge. It's going to come that way,
Yeah. The Patriots, obviously, they have the number 3 pick. They have the number 34 pick in the second round. So that's high in the second round, and 68 in the third round. They have obvious needs at tackle, left tackle, wide receiver. Knowing what you know about the depth of this draft in those areas, do you think that they can perhaps check off some of the boxes and help themselves with those picks, along with the quarterback?
Certainly. And you said 3, 34, and 68, right? So what if we ran this parlay without any movement? Okay, which who knows, right? But since we're sitting here now, just keep them where they are, keep them static. Let's say they come away at 3, pick your quarterback, Drake May or JJ McCarthy. Boom. There you go. Check that. Come back at 34. Now, I expect a lot of the offensive tackles, the top guys, right? I think they're going to be pushed towards the first round. But there's a kid at Houston named Patrick Paul.
Yep.
Big, good-looking kid. His brother's playing with Washington right now. He was a 7th-round pick who started about half the year there. Let's say you come away with him, and he has a chance to be your starting left tackle. Then you get into 68. I'm even going to go to my notes on this one, Karen. Now I go to 68. Well, receivers, I can draft receivers all day long. But what if somehow I'm able to come through 68 and I get this kid out of Louisville named Jamari Thrash, who can get up and go and stretch defenses and make big catches and all that? If I go boom, boom, boom like that, I potentially have started my process towards helping my team out. That's just, that's just examples. Now, Eliot Wolf and crew could have ideas about what to do. Well, obviously, they're the experts. They're the smart ones. I'm just saying you could come do that, because my parallel is when this whole process started, Chicago was sitting at 1-9. If you talk to people everywhere around the country, Karen, all you heard out of Chicago was, get me the quarterback at the top, meaning Caleb Williams. And boy, I can't wait to get a receiver at 9 because it's such a receiver draft. Well, they went and traded, got Keenan Allen. That kind of lessens the idea you need a receiver.
Right.
Now there's a lot of talk about, can I get the pass rusher at 9 and which one? That's what you're trying to do, trying to get your team better. And we as fans and we as media, we're doing the speculation on it. The people who are doing the real work behind closed doors, sometimes they're listening to us and laughing, and sometimes they're listening to us and going, Because I used to think, Karen, that GMs and teams did not care what we thought. I've actually learned over time that if you are part of a group that they consider, halfway decent at what we do, and with mock drafts, they will take a collection of mock drafts and see if there's consensus. And if they feel like there's consensus, they feel like, well, those people are talking to people, those people are doing it. Actually, I'm not gonna say it affects what they do, but they take it into consideration. And I never thought that was true. I always thought, why the heck would they listen to us? But what they're doing is trying to figure out if we have contacts and we're giving up what those contacts are saying.
Talking to them.
Right. And so that's how it goes. Now, I don't know if I'm considered in that group. I'm sure you would be considered in that group. But all I'm saying is there is a group of people and GMs and teams that they spend time checking those mock drafts out to see if there's word around the league that may lead them somewhere. Interesting.
I'm going to ask you to put your DB hat on because you were a defensive back at Tennessee. The Patriots, in my estimation, could use a free safety, like a legit somebody who is a free safety, as opposed to, making somebody a
center fielder. You want a center field safe.
The Devin McCourty of. So I'm wondering if there's one in the mid rounds, and also I also think that they would be well served if they got another boundary corner, to play opposite Christian Gonzalez, moving John Jones back to slot where I think he's suited. Give me a couple names for those two areas.
Well, let's start at the safety spot. If you're talking mid rounds, there's this kid at USC is kind of a willowy looking kid, but I think he fits what you're talking about, named Kalen Bullock.
Okay.
Much that, because my favorite, center field free safety, full-time center fielder is the young man out of Minnesota, Tyler Nubin. But you're talking mid-round. I think by then someone will have hopped on Nubin and taken him off the board. But Bullock, if you're mid-rounding it, I think he's got a chance to be it. There's this kid at Oregon named Evan Williams who caught my eye in this draft process, is much more of a center field type of a guy. Because we have a lot of guys who are pretty furious in what they do. And if somehow you were able to, and I'm not quite sure how deep this is going to go, even before them, and not even before them, but consideration for them, Javon Bullard out of Georgia, who's played more of the center field, because he was with Tyke Smith. And Tyke Smith is much more of a, a nickel type of a guy. And both of them went to the Senior Bowl wanting to show they could do the other thing.
Other's job.
Interesting deal to show that they can advance and do it. So I really like those kind of guys as players. And if you're talking about getting a boundary corner, all right, now, look, deciding who's a boundary corner, who's a field corner, a lot of that has to do with how teams, operate. But the boundary corner is where we want to have a great cover guy, because a lot of teams want to hide their best receiver into the boundary and run their plays that way. The big reason why the boundary corner was so big in college. We know the top guys. Hard to believe that a Terrion Arnold, a Quinyon Mitchell, right, a Kool-Aid McKinstry, and Nate Wiggins. We all know they're probably going to go in the first round. Be surprised if they escape into the second round. Cooper DeJean. But Ennis Rakestraw, who may be more of a nickel, coming out of Missouri. He plays with a ferocity. A Kamari Lassiter out of Georgia, knows his craft and can play. TJ Tampa out of Iowa State, I think, fits the bill of what you're looking for. I think he'd be another guy that I would consider in a big way. Smaller guy, DJ James. I don't know if they're going to move him into nickel. Mike Sainristil still definitely a nickel out of Michigan. But boundary type, the TJ Tampa kicks in. I'm looking at my notes here. There's this kid, Renardo Green from Florida State. Not as big, but a real toughness to his game. You're probably looking at him around the fourth round. I think he would be a good player, in this league because of how he goes about doing things. Those are some of the names that just kind of hitting me. And my two wild cards, and the reason I call them wild cards, I want to see if they're going to go higher than maybe, or if they're going to fall back. Kyrie Jackson, Oregon, and Josh Newton, TCU. I think they're both really good players.
Yeah. Well, I think people, Patriot fans are excited. They were really teased by how good Christian Gonzalez was for the early part of the year before he got hurt.
Right.
And so I think they're looking forward to, again, seeing just how much he develops into what we believe is going to be, a star corner, So,
Agreed.
so we'll see. But again, it'd be nice if he had a partner on the other side.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
I mean, John Jones is great, but
You want to get him back to more of a natural for him. He's
correct.
he's been like duct tape for them.
Yeah.
Wherever they've needed to plug something, Jonathan Jones has had to go and do it to the best of his abilities. It'd be nice to be able to put him in a spot where he is best and turn him loose.
Do you think, last couple of questions and I'll let you go. Do you think there's a lot of pressure on Eliot Wolf kind of to get it right? Seeing as he doesn't have a contract after the draft?
I would say, again, you and I aren't real privy to what Mr. Kraft and crew are telling him, like, hey, if you prove yourself, you're going to be the GM for us, or is that even on the
He
table?
might already have it. Yeah.
He may have it, we won't know about it. I think the pressure is much more of an internal for Eliot Wolf. Look, Eliot Wolf's name's been bandied around this league for a long time, right? And he's been an assistant here and all that, and he's helped some big time drafts, but you don't get the credit for it if you're not at the top of the food chain, right? Now that's where he is, where his name's going to get attached to this draft. Sure it is, but I think the pressure is much more, can he usher in a new era for the New England Patriots and get a quality draft going? Because that has been an issue for them for, Karen, would 5 years be the right number?
Yeah, that's around.
Where the draft has just not yielded what a team like the Patriots would expect. And over that time, am I wrong by thinking, I've heard Mr. Kraft say multiple times over these last 5 years how important the draft is, and we need to get better at drafting, and this draft needs to be, and it just hasn't yielded those types of fruit so far. To me, that's what would be a big deal for Eliot Wolf. Not just winning the night of the draft, because, we do that instant grading, which is folly. We know that. But it's part of TV, it's part of writing, it's part of all that. How did you see it? Did it match up to what you thought these players would be? Blah, blah, blah. But can this draft go out on the field starting 2024 and start making a difference for the New England Patriots? That's what Patriots fans want to know. That's what they want to see. Because the last 4 or 5, who are you pulling out of it? You're hoping Gonzalez, because you expect him to be. Boy, was he looking good before he got hurt. But how many are names you plucking out of those 5 years where you've gone, yeah, that's what the draft yielded? Help me out. You know him better than I do.
There hasn't been a lot to hang their hat on, let's say.
And that's what we're looking for.
Yeah. I mean, I think a good draft, you get at least 3 to 4, quality players.
If you do that, that's a heck of a draft. That's a heck of a draft. Like, what's the old thing? If you bat 500 in the draft, you've had a really good drafting year. Okay. Yeah. And that goes for the best drafters all the way down to the worst drafters, right? Worst drafters aren't going to hit it at all. But the best drafters, you're not getting 7 out of your draft that hit. I mean, if you do, that is beyond the pale. You might want to retire and move to Vegas or somewhere. But that's just not how it works. Can you get some core players that give you good play? I'm not even talking about superstars at this stage. I'm talking about guys who can help you win NFL games consistently in your division. Can that kick in for them? That's where we're headed.
Lastly, last week, the internet was sent abuzz with Tom Brady saying he'd be open to coming back if the call came, if there was a needy team. What did you make of that?
Couple of things real quick. People who are not Tom Brady, and that is a vast majority of us, if we were in that business and we just get signed to go do all this for TV and what have you, you and I both know our bosses would call us and go, what are we talking about right here? Well, I thought you were like, where's your focus, right? But this is Tom Brady.
Where's your laser focus?
Yeah. So this is two things for me. This is Tom Brady. No one's going to call Tom Brady and chastise him first and foremost. Second, any publicity is good publicity. That's the person who's going to be calling games for that network. So that part is fine. And do any of us think that Tom Brady's ever going to fail at anything he does because he's going to put himself into a position to be great? So I don't think that network's worried about it all. If he wants to say he wants to come back, say whatever you say, but he's still going to be working for us. I really took it, though, Karen, much more than anything else, as Tom Brady just reminding us that he's Tom Brady. And there's nothing wrong with that. Just reminding us that, hey, I didn't retire because I couldn't play anymore. I chose to retire. He went out on his own terms. There was no one in Tampa ushering him to the door.
Pushing him out. Yeah.
No, there were no articles written by any of us that, I think Tom Brady's really fallen off the cliff and it's time for him to go. There was none of that because there was no reason to. He was still playing at a really high level. So I just think it's Tom just like, hey, somebody want, I think it was much more of Tom Brady saying, if someone called me late in the season and I chose to go out there, I definitely could help that team. There's no doubt about it. You guys know that, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I think Mr.
way,
Kraft would love him to come back, retire a Patriot on the field,
As long as he came back to the Patriots, Mr. Kraft would be cool with that. But here's the thing. Tom Brady's earned the right to do whatever he wants to in terms of talking about that. And as soon as he said something like that, whether you liked it, didn't like it, if you thought maybe, hey, I thought you said you retired, I'm tired. I don't care about all that. Tom Brady, the skins are on the wall. The trophies have been earned. The accomplishments have been done, all because of what he has done. Sure. And by the way, did any of us doubt that if some team signed him late in the season that he wouldn't be pretty darn good? Nope, not one bit. That tells you all you need to know. Other people, we'd be nitpicking. I don't know if they could do that. Tom Brady, we'd be stunned if he couldn't do it. That's how great Tom Brady has been and what he's accomplished and what he's earned. Bottom line, earned it because he put himself out there. He did all the things necessary to be great and be on top of his game. If he wants to come back, who am I? What team would tell him no?
True. Has he asked you for broadcasting tips?
No. Tom Brady operates in a whole different stratosphere than I do, okay? If he's going to ask someone for tips, it's going to be someone in his stratosphere, not mine. And I have zero for him other than, look, Karen, every one of the people who are in our business are all colleagues of mine. I wish everybody nothing but the best because I'm trying to be the best, right? I'm trying to be my best version of myself, to use a 2020s phrase that gets used all the time. Tom Brady will never need to ask me for advice. He can get that elsewhere and what have you, but he's going to figure this thing out and he's going to be Tom Brady and the whole world's going to be watching. And once again, we'll all go to bed at night saying, wish I was Tom Brady.
Well, one thing I know, the whole world is going to be watching you a week from Thursday when the draft starts, and I will be tuned in. I thank you so much for taking the time.
I appreciate you, Karen. It's going to be a lot of fun, as always, with NFL Network. Rich Eisen hosting yet again, the great Rich Eisen, and Daniel Jeremiah, who I believe is the best draft expert in the business, and Joel Klatt coming and sitting with us on the first two nights, and then Peter Schrager on day 3. And I'm lucky enough they let me sit there for all 3 days. I'm actually, each and every time I pinch myself, it's a little bit of a shock. Again, from New Paltz, New York, that they let sit there and talk about the draft. That's pretty cool for a guy like me. I'm pretty fortunate.
In my view, it's must-see TV. So
God bless you. Thank you, Karen.
Have a good one. Thank you, Charles.
You do the same. It's always great to talk with you.